Hey, what up, YouTube? Welcome back. All right, I have a quick question that I want to throw out there to you guys, which is, do you think that biracial and light-skinned people, you know, can compete outside of the African American community, outside of the black community? Do you think so? And this kind of comes up because I've sort of seen some things thrown around about, people accusing some biracial females and some light skinned females, but especially biracial females, of kind of like being in the black community, kind of because the competition isn't so quote unquote fierce, right? But the competition is considered easier, right? And I'll kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about because I feel like this can sort of extend to just a lot of different situations. But one situation uh, I'll present to you guys is this. All right, take like the music industry and black females. All right, think about the light skinned black females and the dark skinned black females. You know, okay. And then oftentimes when we think about, black females in the music industry, usually two big names pop up, right? You got Beyonce and you got Rihanna, right? Those are the two names that pop up, right? And both of them, they're considered light-skinned black women, right? Not necessarily biracial, but, light-skinned black women who identify as black, right? And Beyonce and Rihanna, they can compete and go against, black women in the music industry, like, Sierra, Jasmine Sullivan, who else? You know, like SZA, Fantasia, Tina Shea. They can go against, you know, pretty much just about any black woman, you know, black singer, musical artist out there, black female artist out there, and do pretty well and end up on, the winning side, right? Um, However, Beyonce and Rihanna can compete outside of the black community, quote unquote internationally, or in a white world, right, and do pretty well, right? Beyonce and Rihanna can go up against like the Katy Perry's, the who else? Um, Taylor Swift, um, you know, Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus, et cetera, right? They can go against those women and do pretty well, right? In many cases, end up outdoing them, right? But there are some black females, particularly some light-skinned black females, like Tina Shea, right? She can do well inside the community, right? She can do pretty well inside the community when she's going against like Sierra, Jasmine Sullivan, Seven Streeter. I think that's how you say her name. SZA, perhaps. Right? Tina Shea can do pretty well against those types, but when it comes to competing outside the community, as well as competing against Beyonce and Rihanna, who can't compete outside of the community, she doesn't fare so well, right? She doesn't tend to do so well, right? So I'm saying all that to say, like, some biracial and light skinned folks, I'll put, males and females in this, even though I kind of think that when it comes to the males, I think the males are sort of more so forced to compete outside of the community. Or, I feel like the playing field when it comes to the males is sort of leveled at times in favor of dark skinned men versus, um, on the other hand, where Where it comes to the females, it's sort of leveled in favor of the light-skinned biracial female, right? But I'll put both males and females into this, all right? So, do you think that these, biracial light-skinned folks, do you think that they can compete outside of the community and do well, or do you think that they can only do well inside the community, and that's partially why they are so kind of like clinging inside of the community, where it's like, it seemed like they want to identify as black so bad because they know like they kind of have an edge when they identify as black, right? Versus if they were to identify as, say, like biracial. In the case of those who are actually, biracial, because I know when it comes to light skin, that's a different story. But those are, who are biracial, right? Mixed, biracial, multiracial, what have you, right? Where it's like, okay, for some folks, it'll be easier to go as black because they'll possibly get more opportunities going as black. But if they went as biracial, mixed, multiracial, they might not get as many opportunities, right? It would be tougher for them to compete because they'll be competing against, everybody, versus just black people, right? And I think this is low-key why some black people tend to have like mixed race children and then want to bring them back into the community. Like they go outside the community to have these kids, but they want to bring these kids right back into the community, right? Because they, on some level, I think they may feel like, oh, my child have, an easier time and more of an advantage going as black, right? And that's something that's not quite ever addressed or ever pointed out. But I think that is low-key at play sometimes. When it comes to the males, you got Chris Brown, you got, and of course these are just examples in the industry. There's like a lot of other examples, but I'm just using these examples because these are the ones that we know, right? These are the ones that we can see, right? So we got Chris Brown, Drake, The Weeknd, as far as like the light-skinned dudes in the industry. But there's a lot. I feel like, I guess Drake would kind of be like that guy, where it's like he seems to be winning, but do people see Drake as black? I don't know. Like, I know some people do, and then some people don't. Like, it depends on who you ask. So Drake would be an example of a, light-skinned, biracial black male who could do well both in the community and outside of the community. Possibly even better outside of the community than inside the community. I think Chris Brown would be someone who, perhaps could do well inside the community, but not sure outside the community. And honestly, and I think that's just because of like the whole Rihanna incident that happened. If that didn't happen, I think his career would be in a total different place, in a better place than it is, right? But on the flip side, it's like, well, he still kind of has a career, and it's like, if Chris Brown was, a couple of shades darker, had certain facial features, you think he would be able to have this position that he has now, doing what he did to Rihanna? I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. It's possible. But it's something to think about. And this especially is, comes up when it comes to like white passing people who identify as black. It's like, I think, people start to, that's when the side eye really starts to come in, right? Because it's like, it seemed like some people may accuse them of using their white passing privilege to sort of gain opportunities that were meant for black people, or to kind of put themselves in the black spaces, but also put themselves in the black spaces and black opportunities, but not having to really, deal with the downside of being a black person because they're white passing, but they have claimed the blackness, right? You know, I think low key like Paris Jackson. Well, I think that she's white. I don't think she's white passing, but she kind of did something or was trying to do something like that. The way that it looks, right? Oh, I consider myself a black woman, but I'm like, do you even have any black friends? Honestly, like I don't even think she has any black friends. You know, um, I've never seen her quote Black Lives Matter or tweet Black Lives Matter. I've never seen her interested in dating a black guy. No really connection to blackness other than just saying, my dad said I was a black woman. Right. Rachel Dolezal is another one, right? She would be a big example of that. Like, she inserted herself into the black community because she, as a white woman, she could not compete against other white women. She could not compete and win, right? Being basic Becky, right? So then, slap on some, cheap Walmart bronzer or self tanner, get a, curly weave from the weave store, and bam, you got, exotic, biracial, racially ambiguous, but black, Rachel Dolezal. And she did start getting a lot more attention. Like, folks started checking for her. But that would be kind of like a little different, though. But because that would be kind of like an example of like a white person taking advantage of the system. But, it's still, I think it's worth mentioning, though, right? And then you got Halsey out here, right? The, latest singer, latest up-and-coming pop star, Halsey, she kind of reminds me of Pink a little bit. Old school R&B hip-hop Pink, back from, when she first came out, right? She kind of gives me that vibe, right? However, she is actually white passing, though. She's not, faking. But still, I do side-eye her, too, right? Then on the flip side, you have like, The Rock and Vin Diesel, who kind of don't tend to claim blackness so strongly. But people sometimes have an issue with that, them not claiming blackness so strongly, right? Or so much. So it's like, if you got someone who's, not trying to go the black path, then it's like, hey, oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, it's not good enough for you? Then if you got someone trying to go the black path, it's like, oh, wait, oh, what you doing? You trying to take advantage of my opportunities? Oh, you just here for the money? Here for a come up? Right? And so it's like, either way you go, it's you can't win. Right? But that's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted to put that out there for you guys and see what you guys think. How do you feel about this? Let me know in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.